How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Push Start, and we've got something a little bit different tonight because we've been so knee-deep in E3 and all the video game news that's going on. It's time to take a little bit of a break and divert to something else that I'm passionate about, and that is toy collecting. I've got everything that I've picked up since the last video that I made, which I think was maybe a couple months ago at this point. I'm not too quite sure on that, but I've got a fair amount of stuff to go over, kind of divided into three categories. I've got video game related stuff, I've got general pop culture, movies, that kind of stuff, and I've got some wrestling stuff to go over. So why don't we hop right into it? So why don't we start off with kind of general pop culture, movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff. A few of these were definitely big impulse buys, not things that I was actively looking for, but just happened to come across when I was out and about. We'll start off the first one with kind of an unlikely source. I actually picked this up in a Walgreens. I've heard that you can get fairly decent stuff at Walgreens if you kind of stumble in at the right time. They sell some of the Marvel Legends figures there and stuff like that, but this is a movie near and dear to my heart. I got a Flynn Tron Diamond Select figure, and I was really surprised to see this thing. Pretty nice packaging. The figure looks pretty good. If you're new to the way I do my toy collecting, is I open everything, but I try to leave it in the box when I do the video, so that way you can kind of see the packaging and all that stuff. Just kind of an image from the movie on the back there. But yeah, Diamond Select stuff, definitely not something I thought I would see in a Walgreens. This would be something I would expect to see at maybe a Target or a Walmart, or just kind of a general like comic and toy shop. This is, I don't think it's new. This is saying 2019, so maybe it's been sitting around that Walgreens for a little bit, and I just happened to come in on the right day. It was still there, decided to pick it up. But Tron is a movie that I absolutely love. Saw it when I was young and just was absolutely fascinated by it. Next up after that was a NECA product, but not a traditional NECA product. This is one of the Toonie series, and this is one of the Bob Ross Toonie figures. And I actually didn't realize until I got it home that they did multiple colors for his shirt and different accessories that come with it. So you can see here on this one, the squirrel is in his pocket. But if we flip around on the back, they've got him in the yellow coveralls with the broom, the regular kind of light blue that you're familiar with the paint palette, and another one with a raccoon. I really like these Toonie figures. They kind of started off with the Toonie Terrors, and I do have a couple of those, the Friday the 13th one, which I really like, but there are some non-terror ones like this. They also did Ace Ventura. They also did Back to the Future ones. I have the Back to the Future ones. I'd love to get the Ace Ventura because I love the look of these. They're much more whimsical, comical. Not everything needs to be like a super seriously, highly detailed NECA figure. So yeah, I think they're hitting the sweet spot in the market with this. I don't remember the price on this, but I think it was under 15 bucks. Staying with the NECA theme, I grabbed another one of their Back to the Future figures. This is the Ultimate Doc Brown. I have the Marty McFly Tales from Space one and also the regular Marty McFly one as well. Just open it up. And you get the Doc Brown with the extra head. Try and get the glare out of there. Extra head, extra set of hands, some other accessories in there as well. I think this line is absolutely perfect. The expressions on the characters' faces nail it. For the 35th anniversary of the film, what more could you ask for if you're a figure collector? The NECA stuff has been absolutely fantastic. They have released other ones since the ones on the bottom here. They have a Marty Battle of the Bands figure. I don't know. I probably picked that one up at some point. I see it every time I go to Target, which is where I got this. I think this was 25, could be a little bit more. Our Target seems to be kind of all over the place with NECA. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 28, sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 35. It seems to just kind of be whatever they feel like at the time. They don't really follow any type of rhyme or reason. But I'm a huge NECA figure collector, specifically the NECAs that come in these boxes. There's just something about them. They have a lot of properties that I absolutely love. I get a lot of their horror stuff, and now they're kind of branching out to being not just known for horror and known for like stuff like Predator, which they do a lot of Predator figures. They're starting to kind of get like, hey, you want really good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys? Look at NECA. You want Back to the Future type stuff? Look at NECA. They've got some cool stuff coming out. We actually just saw in a recent Target trip, my wife and I, we saw the John Carpenter's The Thing figure that they just put out, which is cool that kind of movie is getting, a figure. It's not something you would necessarily think of that, first comes to mind when you're like, oh, we're looking for a new property to make a figure for, but it's cool that they're willing to kind of go out there and find those movies that have dedicated fan bases and make figures for people that probably movies like that have a high crossover with people that are into collecting and collectibles and figures and all that stuff. This is going to be the last of the general pop culture stuff. New Super 7 reaction. I got the red Power Ranger. I'd love to get the rest of this set. Specifically, the Megazord would be great. They only did the red and green Ranger so far. They did Rita Repulsa, Putty Patrol, Pudgy Pig, and then the Megazord. I like their reaction figures. I don't get too many of them, but the thing for me that I really loved is that this was in Target. You didn't have to go online to get Super 7 stuff. Super 7 is definitely a boutique brand for collectibles and for toys, so to be able to get this stuff in a mainstream retailer is awesome. I was fantastically happy when I walked into Target and saw this guy sitting on the peg, and this wasn't the only reaction figure that they had. It was the only Power Rangers figure they had, otherwise I would have gotten another one, but they had some of like the Motorhead ones, the Iron Maiden ones, some just kind of general other ones that they had. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Super 7. I really like what they do. They're branching out to do more than their reaction stuff. They've got like highly detailed action figures for pro wrestlers that have been coming out, so it's awesome to see that they're growing and succeeding as a company, and we get just cool stuff like this. I was a huge Power Rangers fan as a kid. I was absolutely obsessed with that show. I remember they did a line of Power Rangers kind of clothing in a way. You could get like the gloves and stuff like that, and that was exclusive to QVC, and my mom, you know, put her credit card into the phone in the 90s, and QVC shipped it, and probably 6 to 8 weeks later, my Power Ranger glove showed up, and I probably didn't take that thing off for like 6 months. I have vivid memories of running around at not only our house, but family members' houses with that Power Ranger glove that absolutely made noise when you squeezed your palm in. It had a little like button in there that made sound effects go off. I'm sure I was just a joy to everyone. So why don't we move into the wrestling stuff that I picked up? I got a couple of things I definitely did not expect to get. Probably the two of the hardest things to get that aren't like limited edition figures, and I actually got one of the AEW figures. These are super hard to find. I have never ever seen one in a store. It doesn't matter what retailer I'm in, I have never seen an AEW figure on the peg. I got this from Ringside Collectibles. They had gotten another shipment of Series 2 in, and I am a huge Pentagon Jr. fan. He is super toyetic. I mean, just his look is begging to be made into a figure. Just unbelievable detail on these things. I've been really waiting to film this so I can take it out of the packaging, because I really want to get my hands on these things and see how they feel, because I'm used to just the elites, you know, that Mattel makes for WWE. There are a ton of other wrestlers in this line, not just Series 2, but just the Unrivaled collection in general that I would love to have. So I'm a big AEW fan. I watch AEW more than any other wrestling company, but these are so hard to find. When you do get them, even if you are getting them from Ringside Collectibles, they are not at MSRP. This guy was definitely, I think, at least $10 over MSRP, but at this point, you kind of got to just deal with it. If you want them, you're going to have to pay for them, because even when they're taking pre-orders on these, they're not at MSRP. The chances of you finding one, I think they're supposed to be $20. That is real slim. Like I said, I have not seen these. I've gone to other cities looking to see if they have them in their Targets or Walmarts, and no go. So super happy to have that in the collection. Next up is a WWE figure, jumping over to them. This one I definitely did not expect to find as soon as I did. I knew eventually I would be able to get it, but the day that this was announced, I didn't realize that they were going to go up for pre-order. I thought they were going up for pre-order at another date, so it sold out immediately. It was a Target exclusive, but about a week after the supposed release date, half of the figures in this particular series got delayed. I don't even think they're out yet. I think they're coming out next month, and other ones said that you could ship them to store at your local Target and pick them up, but I was super weary. I did it. It was canceled about an hour later. A couple weeks go by, and then it says that another Target in the area has one. I did it, and it showed up the next day, and I couldn't believe it. This is the new WWE Legends. I'm trying to see what Legends this is. This is Legends Series 10, and that is the Big Van Vader. I am very happy I got this. Vader is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. This outfit is super cool because this is definitely a mix of his New Japan and WCW outfit. He never wore this outfit in WWE unless it was for a random one-off appearance. He typically had the black and red singlet that said Vader Time on it. I'm glad I don't keep things in the box because this thing is creased to hell. It is falling apart. It is super damaged. It was like this when they handed it to me at the store. I think the guy was kind of embarrassed when he handed it to me. He gave it to me in a brown paper bag, and I like unfurled the top and looked inside just to make sure it was in there. And he just kind of had this like knowing look on his face, like, I'm sorry, man, but it's all good. I'm gonna open it. I can't wait to put the Mastodon helmet on it and make it look like my childhood dreams come true. I don't particularly pick up pops all that often anymore, but when one releases that's kind of in my wheelhouse, I grab it, and they did a new Macho Man Randy Savage. The coloring on this is just so perfect. It's one of his most flamboyant attires. It's right up my alley. I am a huge Macho Man fan. The Macho Man collection is growing. But yeah, I'm not super big on pops anymore, but this was a kind of a no-brainer to pick up. And then to finish off the wrestling section, it's more Macho Man stuff. These were limited edition, and by limited edition, I mean you only had 2 hours to buy them. Throughout the day, Pro Wrestling Tees put up a different one. You got emailed a link, and it's part of their Micro Brawlers lines, and it was Macho Man Randy Savage ones. I do have some problems with these. So I got the pink and yellow. They did about 6 or 7 of them. I got 3. I got the lime green and yellow, and I got the orange, and that's coming up as yellow, but it's actually no. The picture on the back makes it look gold, but actually seeing it in front of me, it is yellow. The problem I had with these was that the 2 hours, and it was a weekday. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday that they went up. Not super big on that. If you got a job where you can't just immediately drop what you're doing to pick these things up, I think that's a little unfair. The prices, they were different prices for each figure. Some were pretty cheap. I think the cheapest one was maybe $12. The most expensive one I saw was over 20. And because they were in these 2-hour drops, you had to buy them each individually, so they dinged you for shipping on each one. So I had to pay 3 separate shipping purchases for these 3. They also shipped out at different times. The other issue that I have with them is, just so you get a little bit of a closer look, and I don't know if this was just me or everybody, they never sent a confirmation of purchase. I never got an email saying that my credit card was accepted. I never got an email saying that my order was accepted. I never got an invoice. I was going to write to them, and the only reason I didn't is because I hadn't seen anybody that I know would have picked them up posting on social media saying that they had shown up. If somebody said like, hey, mine showed up in the mail today, then yeah, I would have been typing an email as soon as I possibly could to be like, hey, you never gave me a shipping confirmation. You did charge my card, but I never got anything. But yeah, they just started randomly showing up. They did not all arrive at once. I actually haven't seen very many people post online that they got them, except for somebody that is sort of like a toy influencer, so it makes sense that he would have all of them. But for like John Q. Public, I don't know if they've sent all of them out or not, but still pretty cool to have. As a Macho Man figure, yeah, they got me. They knew my wallet was going to open for this, but I was definitely not going to spend well over $100 to get all of them. I just kind of picked out the colors that I liked, and I'm happy with my purchase. And we're going to wrap things up with video game related figures that I got. I am a huge sucker for video game themed toys and collectibles, and I got the opportunity to pick up some stuff that I just thought would be cool to have in the collection. But the last thing I'm going to show is something that I have been hunting down for well over a decade, and super happy to have them. To begin, I got a couple of small things because I'm always looking for smaller figures that will fill out the front of a shelf, and stuff like the Amiibos kind of fit that criteria. So I did pick up a couple of Amiibos, but I also picked up these 2 things, which I saw for $5 a piece at Target. And that is a little Sonic, and this was called like Classic Sonic. This looks much more like the original Genesis Sonic, and a Knuckles. And I just really like the way these look. I've never been a huge fan of the Sonic games, but I love the look of the games. I love the feel of the games. I do like Sonic and Knuckles and Tails and Robotnik and all that comes with them as characters and a concept. It's just, the games were just a little difficult for me to get into. It's something about the momentum just suddenly stopping. I want just pure fluidity and pure speed, and they don't always give you that. But big Sonic fan, and awesome to have some Sonic collectibles in the collection, because if you look at my video game collection, it's like a lot of Nintendo stuff, a lot of Street Fighter stuff, and a little bit else thrown in there. Then let's get into Amiibos. I got an older Amiibo first, but not super old, and I got the King K. Rool Amiibo. I'm a huge Donkey Kong Country fan, and I wanted to get this when it came out, but I couldn't find it in stores. The video game store I used to work at actually had it for a really good price, and I have a mountain of store credit, so I said, hey, why don't you just pop it on my account, and I'll take that thing home with me. Then the other one was one that I was super excited to find. I missed the pre-orders, but I was able to get it thanks to Best Buy having just a random one in stock when it came out, and that is the Terry Bogard Amiibo. My favorite fighting game franchise of all time is King of Fighters. Terry is kind of my guy in those games. Just a huge fan of those. I'm not going to show you the back of the packaging because they put a big sticker on it with my address and all that stuff, but yeah, this is a great Amiibo to have. I am just a massively big fan of King of Fighters, and it's not a series you get a lot of toys and collectibles for. You do get some from Storm Collectibles, but Storm Collectible stuff is very expensive, so I'll certainly take what I can get when it comes to King of Fighters stuff, especially if it's at a good price like an Amiibo is. So I think any toy collector has a mental list of things that they're looking for, and those are the things that they'll pretty much drop what they're doing to get an opportunity to pick up. It certainly happens every so often. For me, one of the original ones that I can kind of think of when I was really getting into toy collecting was getting the Mass Effect figures. I was able to get one at launch at Toys R Us. I got the Thane Krios figure, but I always wanted the rest of them and I couldn't find them. I just happened to stumble into a video game store about 2 hours away from me, and they had the whole set, and I asked them, are you actually willing to sell me all of them minus the one? And the guy just didn't care, and he was like, absolutely, and he gave me a hell of a deal. Those figures are not cheap. They weren't new, they weren't mint on card or anything like that, but they had all the accessories. They were in perfect condition. It looked like somebody probably did exactly what I do. They open them up, they keep everything with them, and they just put them on a display shelf. Everything else I was trying to buy that day, be damned, I'm going to pick up these Mass Effect figures, and something similar happened recently. I used to work at a comic book store here in town, and we sold toys. And since I left, that comic book store has essentially, in a way, shut down. One of the people that worked with me ended up buying all of the inventory and opening up his own store in the same location. So it's essentially like the spiritual successor of it. And I kind of always forget to check to see what he gets in because a lot of it's just stuff that I'm not super interested in. And he does mostly focus on comic books. But just something kind of spoke to me the other day, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of in the mood to buy toys. Let me see what he's got. And I stumbled across his eBay page, which is unassociated with the store, has a different name, because he had gotten in some Mortal Kombat figures that I would have loved to have, but they were sold. So while I was on his page, I said, why don't I just check out, see what else he has? And he had some stuff that I have really been looking for a very long time, and they were far out of my price range. These things are not cheap at all. So I did something that I very rarely do, and I actually parted with some of my collection. So I was able to sell him a couple pieces from my collection. That knocked off a large chunk of what I bought in terms of cost, and I was able to just make up the rest with cash, and I'm very excited to have these. So let's kind of go from, I got 4 of them. We'll kind of go from my least excitement, but is still very excited, you know, to my most excited. And the first is, these are the 15th anniversary Street Fighter state-of-the-art toys figures. I got Vega here. These are all in perfect condition. There's no yellowing on the bubble. I am going to open these, which, yeah, is kind of a letdown because I paid new prices just to open them, but I couldn't pass this up. I know for certain that these figures are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't have to worry about somebody lying to me on eBay about like a loose joint or something like that and having a figure that can't stand up. But yeah, I picked him up. The Vega figure is absolutely fantastic. The 2 extra hands, the rose, he's got the claw on the left hand, he's got the extra head. This stuff is from 2004. You still have a hard time getting this detailed of a figure with these extra accessories in 2021. So to see this stuff from back then, and also these are to scale. So the characters of the game have different size figures based upon how big they were in the game. Like I said, that is stuff that was just not really happening in 2004. You know, at least not with like toys that were like on store shelves. I remember seeing these at Toys R Us. Next up after that, This guy I actually don't really care too much in terms of Street Fighter, but he's from another franchise that I am hugely big fan of, and that's Sodom from Street Fighter for the 15th anniversary, but also from Final Fight, one of the bosses in the game. I'm a huge fan of Final Fight, so I really wanted to pick this up, and I honestly, the Vega and the Sodom, I wasn't going to be able to afford, but he did give me he gave me in trade the stuff that I sold to him. He gave me what it was worth. This thing comes with a ton of accessories. You can't see it, but he has his hat down here. Let me see if I can turn it and you can see it there. He's got the two weapons there, the extra hand with the fan, another accessory here. But yeah, such an iconic looking character, so toyetic, so colorful. But yeah, not so much a fan of him in Street Fighter, although he was in Street Fighter Alpha 2, which if you watch my Nostalgia Games video, you know that is one of my all-time favorite fighting games. So yeah, nice to have the connection there. The last two are the ones, these are the two in the series that I was looking forward to the most. I would say that Ken would have been like number 2, but I already have one of the NECA Kens, which I think is actually a better looking figure than the Soda Ken from this line. But this is the M. Bison. Buddy, this wasn't cheap. These are not cheap, especially new. You can go on eBay and look at sold listings. Not cheap. I do not like paying this much for figures, but this is something that I was not going to turn down. This is just, I still cannot believe I have this. It's new. It's in perfect condition. Yeah, I just so excited to have this. One of my favorite characters from the series, and this is probably the best figure of his that I think has been done. Then on to the last figure of today's video, and that is my all-time favorite Street Fighter figure ever made by any company. I've always wanted to have this. It is super hard to find. Sagat is, I mean, Ken has kind of always been my favorite. Sagat's like, you know, they're 1A and 1B for me. I always love the look of Sagat. This figure is huge. This thing is so much bigger than the Vega. I'm going to hold up them side by side to see if you can get the difference here. But I mean, you can see that size difference for two figures in the same line. I mean, that is massive. I mean, this dude is a big figure. My Street Fighter collection is going to start looking really nice. I have some other stuff that I picked up. I have some of the Loyal Subject figures. I have all of them except for the Zangief. And that's pretty much the last thing I would be looking for, is the last Zangief Loyal Subjects figure, which was a con exclusive, and I think goes for a few $100, so I'll probably never get that unless I stumble across it. And I would love like a Soda Zangief or maybe the NECA Zangief to have. I would also love a Dhalsim figure because, again, such a toyetic figure, such a toyetic character. Video game toys in my area are hard to come across, so to get these was a big win for me. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. I want to thank you for watching, and hopefully we get to do this again in a couple of months. I'm always on the lookout for stuff, and just, you know, whether it's stuff that I'm specifically going to a store to find or I just stumble across it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed hanging out, talking toys. Leave a comment below with your recent toy pickups or maybe something that you're looking forward to.